thought that I've been wandering in.
No, I deeply appreciate the way you're analyzing and observing a religious text that can often be seen as a story, a lesson, a message, and actually looking at it as closely linked to human development. And part of my training, I did something similar with the Bhagavad Gita, which is the text of the East. And it's similar. There's a conversation between the divine Krishna or God with Arjun, who's an archer who has lost all self-belief and self-esteem because he's having to fight his family.
He's an archer.
Yes, he's an archer.
Sin means to miss the target.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's an archery term.
Yeah.
And that notion of sin has that archery connection in multiple different languages. And so it's the same theme that you're describing. And the reason for that is an archer hits the target, right? So to hit the target accurately is to pursue the divine most appropriately. So there's a metaphysics of archery. So that's definitely that's a good example of how that's right. There's no mistake in that, right? There's no mistake in that. You want to hit the target dead center.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And in the beginning of the text, his bow is slipping from his hands because he's feeling sweaty, he's feeling nervous, he's feeling anxiety, and therefore he turns to God for instruction and guidance.
Okay, so there's a meaning there too. So psychologists have demonstrated convincingly, mostly statistically, that there's no difference between being self-conscious and being miserable, right? They're so tightly associated. So for example, in the Big Five, in one of the classic Big Five personality descriptive processes, tests, self-consciousness is a facet of neuroticism. So it's actually a sub-element of suffering. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that if you're focused on your narrow self, what you want now, you're going to become both aimless and anxious. And that's technically the case. And so you might say, well, then what's the medication for that? And the medication isn't exactly to stop thinking about yourself because, well, then what do you think about? And exactly how do you continue to maintain your care for yourself? The medication to that is to aim higher. For example, in our conversation, and you're obviously good at this because your podcast wouldn't work, you can't sit in a conversation like this and do nothing but aim at the enhancement of your own status, let's say in the eyes of your audience or at the expense of your guest. First of all, if you do that, you won't have guests for long and their quality will disintegrate. But also people will see through you eventually and see you as self-serving. If by contrast, you aim the conversation at the expansion, let's say, of your own understanding and wisdom, then it's not about you, it's about the dynamic of the conversation and you can bring everybody along for the ride. But one of the benefits of that is you won't be self-conscious. So your hands won't sweat. You won't miss your grip on the bow. You won't aim wrong.